Hi everybody. So we're ready for another cooking video. Somebody sent us a ton of peaches. So I already made a peach cobbler, which I assume that most people know how to make. They're pretty simple. But now we're going to make peach crumb bars. Hopefully the girls really like these. They kind of looked a little like toaster strudels, but obviously it's homemade. So I don't know, maybe the icing on top will persuade them to try it a little bit more than the peach cobbler. So let's get to the ingredients. Okay, so I separated these into, like the directions said, the crust and then the peach filling layer and then the drizzle on top. So for the crust, we're going to be using 1 cup of granulated sugar, 3 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and 1 cup of unsalted cold butter cut into cubes. Now I'm going to stick this back in the refrigerator. The egg is already in there. That is also going to be in the crust. And for the filling, we have our 5 peaches. I peeled them, but I have not diced them yet. We have a half a cup of granulated sugar, a tablespoon of cornstarch, a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1 teaspoon of the lemon juice. You can't really see the lemon juice, but I promise you it's in there. You might be able to see it. And then for the top, I did also leave this knife out. So this is what I've been peeling the peaches with. It's kind of like a curved blade, and it made peeling the peaches really easy. They're also very soft, so that might have also helped too. For the icing, we're going to use a cup of powdered sugar or confectioner sugar or 10x sugar, known by many names, a 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract, which I promise you is in there also. And I'm going to put this back in the fridge too. It's just a tablespoon of milk. We may use a little bit more. We shall see when we get to that area. Okay, let's get to baking. All right, so we are back and we're going to put our crust together. Let's start with our 1 cup of sugar. I'm going to put this in this bowl. And then we're going to add our 3 cups of flour. Our baking powder, make sure it's baking powder. Our salt, it's stuck in there. And I believe it says our cinnamon too, yes. Got all that, so we're just going to use this to mix it all up in there. And now we're going to use a pastry cutter. Now I did go out and I decided to get a pastry cutter. Oh, instead of using knives. Let's see if I can stick this over here somewhere. Instead of using knives, because I feel like every time I end up making either some type of pie or something with a crust, I use the knives and I'm like, oh, I should get myself a pastry cutter. So I did go out and get myself a pastry cutter. So I'm going to go to the refrigerator and get our egg. And let's see. And our butter. We're going to add the butter to this first, and then we'll add our egg to it. So I'll be right back. All right, so if you're using a pastry cutter, you're going to want to get this and add your cold butter that has been cubed or sliced. And we're going to basically cut it into the mixture. So if you end up doing these types of desserts often, I do recommend getting the pastry cutter rather than using the knives. But if you only do them once a year or twice a year, knives are okay. You want to cut this in there until it's kind of blended, but also, you know, you still see the bits of butter. Okay, sorry I switched hands there on everybody. I am left-handed. It's much easier to do things with my left hand than my right. So I'm just gonna get the bits out of here. Now it kind of looks like there's like little pebbles or, you know, kind of coarse ground sand. So that's apparently what you want this to look like. I'm gonna scrape everything off my cutter. Make sure we got everything cut appropriately and there's not giant hunks of butter in here. All right, so I think we're doing pretty good. A few more right there. That looks great. Okay, now we're going to add in our egg. So it's just one egg that's been slightly beaten. I'm gonna add that in there. We're just gonna stir it in. This egg is a farm fresh egg, so it looks very orange. Oh, they're so good. My favorite type of eggs. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to get everything off the spatula as much as possible. So like I said, I'm just following the directions on this. And then we are going to, okay, mix the dough until it starts to hold together, but it's still crumbly. Okay. And then press a little bit more than half of the dough into the prepared pan. So it's still crumbly, but if I squish it, it does hold together. Okay, I guess that's how we're doing it. So we're gonna take, I think I'm just going to cover, make sure I'm still on camera. Yes, I'm just going to cover like the bottom of this because it does say a little bit more than half. The rest of it is going to be saved for the top. So we're going to attempt to press this in here. I don't know how deep of a layer. I probably should have put paper towels under here so that you don't hear our countertop is textured. So it's not exactly like flat. So see how it's like loose, and then when I press on it, it does give like a good, like it turns the, okay, I'm not sure why the camera stopped, but I did put some paper towel underneath of it so you don't hear it banging as much. So when I press down onto it, it does solidify and turn into like a crust. I'm going to try to do it as evenly as possible. Not have any, you know, high spots. This is a much looser, I guess, crust, if you want to call it, than what I'm used to dealing with. Curious to see how this turns out, though. All right, I think that's a little bit more than half of what was in here. We've got a good amount left. I'll show everybody. So that's a pretty good amount left in there. We're going to put that aside. And I think we are going to... Now, I did grease this pan, I forgot to mention everybody, with Crisco. So let's see. Yep. So now we're going to do the filling. So I'll get this out of the way. We'll be right back. Okay, so for our peach layer, we are going to take a half cup of granulated sugar, a tablespoon of cornstarch. If I can get it all out of there. There we go. Cornstarch does like to stick to things. And our cinnamon. I'm just going to stir that around to mix it up a little bit. Try to get that cornstarch kind of, I might use a whisk actually. So now the cornstarch is pretty much evenly dispersed within the little mixture. So I did go and already dice up the peaches. So we are going to add this to the peaches and we're going to try to combine it as well as we can. So let me make sure it's on camera so you can see. They're not too terribly small, but they're pretty much bite-sized. We're going to dump all this in there. Get my spoon back, my spatula. I'm just going to stir it until pretty much all of it's coated. Now, the sugar should break down the peach a little bit so it gets juicy. So yeah, you can see the juices kind of coming out a little bit. All right. And then we are going to drizzle the lemon juice over the peaches and then toss it again. So drizzle, 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 or dump. We're gonna mix it all up again. Pretty good. Okay, now we're going to take this mixture and we're going to put it over top of our crust. So this, so far, is pretty similar. The crust is a little different than how I do peach cobbler. But the rest of it is, it's pretty similar. I do cook the peaches on the stovetop for the peach cobbler. So I'm just gonna kind of try to get some of the juices everywhere. The peaches I can spread out. Make sure we get every last one of them in there. We still have, I think, 5 or 6 peaches just from the Harry and David. And then Walt bought a whole nother, I think, 4 or 5. So we still have some recipes I'm gonna have to come up with for the peaches. I might give them just a grilled peach and some ice cream. So I'm just going to spread this out nice and even. As evenly as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. But I'd like to try. Especially with my little critics. Try to make it look as appetizing and beautiful as possible. One of these days we're going to have them helping us again with another recipe on this channel. I just have to come up with something that might be a little bit easier. Keep bumping the camera just in case they accidentally like lick their fingers. I don't want flour or eggs to be in it. So, okay. Now it says, using your hands, press together handfuls of the remaining crumb topping to create clumps and scatter them over top of this layer. Okay. Now, I do have the oven preheated to 350. I think I forgot to say that. I don't know, like, if it wants like little balls or just like clumps of it. I don't know. I try to flatten it a little bit. I don't want like a big, huge. Yeah, I don't know if this is gonna come out the way it's supposed to, but we'll find out. It's gonna be similar to a crumble, I guess. But again, I've never done really a crumble. Making a mess of my counter too. That's okay. You're supposed to have some of the peach shining through. I think that's it, because I think the rest of whatever's in here is just flour with a little sugar. All right, so we're going to stick this in our 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for 50 to 55 minutes, or until it's lightly browned. So I'm gonna probably check it after a half an hour, but I will let you know the exact time when I pull it back out and come back to you guys. Right? We'll see you in a little bit. All right, everybody. So we're back. I baked the crumb bars for 55 minutes, and then reading the directions, it said to cool completely. So I left it in there overnight, in the fridge overnight. And now we're going to do the icing. So we're going to take our powdered sugar, or 10x sugar, or confectioner sugar. It all means the same thing. We're going to dump it in our bowl with our almond extract and our milk. We may need a little bit more milk. And we're gonna whisk it together. It says whisk together. Now, I would probably, I don't know if I would use a whisk because it's all getting clumped in there, but, and powdered sugar. Maybe use a spoon. I am gonna grab the milk though, because we are definitely going to need more milk. I would do maybe a teaspoon at a time or a small drop at a time, just because you don't want to get it too watery. So let me go grab the milk. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back, and this is probably about half a tablespoon. So I'm just gonna do probably half a tablespoon, or, you know, a splash at a time, because you want it not powdery. I might actually grab a spoon too. Okay, I have a spatula. So I'm gonna try the spatula instead, because I really think it's going to be much better. I hear the girls playing downstairs. And sorry if you hear the dishwasher in the background. Maybe once it's a little bit more liquidy, I'll go back to the whisk. But for now, I feel like the whisk is hurting us, not helping us. So. I can tell that it is not, so we're going to do another half of a tablespoon. Or another little splash. It's definitely getting, I know my hand's probably in the way, a little bit more like an icing, but it says to drizzle, so I think I want it a little bit even looser than this. So I'm gonna grab just one more half, may do it. Oop, almost dropped the cat. And worst case, I think if you add too much milk, you can always add a little bit more sugar. This looks like it's going to be great though. It'll be nice and drizzly. We're gonna wanna, this is probably where the whisk would come into play, because it's going to get the clumpiness out a little bit better. The dogs are also playing now, it sounds like. Sounds like everybody's having a heck of a good time. Okay. So now I'll whisk it just to try to get some of those clumps out. Yeah, this is going to drizzle very nicely. Gwen's yelling that she's hungry. So maybe they'll have this immediately after I'm done. So yeah, that is going to drizzle very nice. And the whisk did help to get the clumps out. So I think I'm just going to use the whisk to actually drizzle it on top of this. Let me make sure I'm in focus. So I probably wasn't even in focus for most of it. Sorry, everyone. Okay. I'll have to watch that on the replay. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to like whisk it a little bit. I think I'm just gonna drizzle it like this. Just every which way, just to make sure I get all kinds of crazy yummy drizzles on it. I don't want it to get too crazy. Sorry about the dishwasher. It's almost over, of course. Oh, this looks so good. Try to get it all over, nice and drizzly, however drizzly you want it to be. That looks pretty good to me. Maybe a little bit right here, all the way up to the edge. So I'm gonna cut this and put this on a plate, and don't forget to check the description. I'll put a link to the girls trying this. All right, bye.